Life was a predictable rhythm of cycling, family, and the quiet comfort of routine, until one ordinary Sunday became anything but. In an instant, a collision shattered my world, plunging me into a darkness that felt like an ending, yet was only the beginning. What if everything we believe about life, death, and what lies beyond is only a fraction of the truth?
For years, after the unthinkable happened, I clung to the quiet hope that my brother was somehow still near. That belief, a fragile comfort, shaped everything. Before June 5, 2022, my life was a familiar tapestry woven with the threads of family, routine, and a deep-seated yet often unspoken spiritual curiosity. I'm Victor, and for most of my adult life I called Brazil home, navigating the bustling energy of its cities and finding solace in its vibrant landscapes. My days were structured, predictable. I worked, I spent time with my two daughters who were my world, and I dedicated a significant part of my life to cycling. Cycling wasn't just a hobby, it was a ritual, a meditation, a way to process the world. For 9 years, I had been cycling almost daily, pushing my limits, conquering new routes, and reaching what I considered an advanced level of fitness. There was a discipline to it, a satisfaction in the rhythm of my breath and the turn of the pedals. It was a physical outlet, but also a mental one, a space where I could feel completely present and free. But beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary life lay a quiet undercurrent, a lingering ache from a decade prior. My brother, 10 years my senior and a close friend, had been tragically taken from us in a car accident. He was just 45. The abruptness of his passing, stopped at a traffic light, hit by a bus, left an indelible mark. It was a wound that, even after all those years, never fully healed. In the aftermath, I found myself drawn to anything that offered solace, anything that might explain the inexplicable. I started to lean heavily into the idea of a spiritual side to life, a conviction that his presence, though unseen, remained. I bought books, delved into ideas of what lay beyond, hoping to find answers or at least a sense of peace. One book in particular, Evidence of Life After Death, sat on my nightstand, a testament to my yearning. My emotional landscape, then, was a blend of everyday contentment and a deeper, more profound search. There was joy in my daughter's laughter, satisfaction in my work, and the simple pleasure of a long bike ride. Yet there was also a quiet yearning, a subtle restlessness that hinted at something more. I wasn't unhappy, but I also wasn't completely fulfilled. My beliefs about life and death, shaped by my Catholic upbringing and intensified by my brother's passing, were less about rigid dogma and more about an intuitive sense that there was more to existence than what met the eye. I believed in a spiritual plane, a continuum beyond our physical reality, and held on to the comforting thought that my brother was somewhere on that plane, still connected to me. This belief wasn't a casual thought. It was a quiet anchor in the stormy seas of grief, a hope that fueled my search for deeper understanding. Little did I know, that understanding was about to find me in the most unexpected and profound way imaginable.
One moment I was simply waiting on the roadside. The next, a force I couldn't comprehend ripped me from the familiar, forever altering the fabric of my existence. June 5th, 2022. It started like countless other Sundays. The morning air in Brazil was already warming, promising a humid day, but perfect for a long bike ride. I woke early, the familiar hum of the city just beginning to stir. The aroma of strong Brazilian coffee filled the kitchen as I prepared a quick breakfast. My cycling gear was laid out, the bright, almost neon colors of my jersey and shorts, the sleek helmet, and my carefully maintained bike. There was a comfort in this routine, a sense of predictable calm that I cherished. I checked the tires, adjusted the seat, and slipped on my cycling shoes, each action ingrained through years of repetition. The plan was simple, a long training ride, pushing myself, enjoying the freedom of the open road. I kissed my daughters goodbye, their sleepy smiles a gentle send-off. The sun was rising higher, casting long shadows as I pedaled out of my neighborhood, joining the trickle of early morning traffic. The sounds of the city faded into the rhythmic whir of my bike chain and the gentle rush of wind in my ears. I felt strong, energized, completely in my element. There was no premonition, no shiver down my spine, no strange coincidence to hint at the seismic shift that was about to occur. It was just another beautiful Sunday morning, another day to conquer the miles. I remember stopping on the side of the road, likely to check my phone, grab a sip of water, or simply take a brief rest. The exact reason now blurs into the periphery, overshadowed by the sudden, violent impact that followed. I wasn't moving. I was stationary, vulnerable, completely unsuspecting. And then it happened. It wasn't a slow build-up of danger, no screeching tires approaching from a distance that would give me a moment to react. It was instantaneous, brutal. A car appearing from nowhere struck me with an incomprehensible force. The impact wasn't just a bump or a graze, it was a full-on collision that defied logic. I was hit with such extreme velocity that my body was propelled into the car that struck me, through its rear window. The world exploded into a chaotic symphony of shattered glass, twisted metal, and agonizing pain. The air was knocked from my lungs, replaced by a searing agony that consumed every fiber of my being. In those first shocking milliseconds, there was no thought, but raw sensation, the crushing force, the splintering sounds, the sudden violent trajectory of my body. The normalcy of my morning evaporated, replaced by an incomprehensible, terrifying reality. It was a transition so abrupt, so violent, that my mind struggled to register it, even as my body bore the full, devastating brunt of the impact. My life, as I knew it, was irrevocably shattered in that single horrific moment.
In that profound moment, as the world dissolved into chaos, I found myself drawn into a vibrant, impossible blue, a portal that promised not an end, but an indescribable peace. The impact was a cataclysm, a brutal rupture of reality. One moment, the world was concrete and painful. The next, it was dissolving, fragmenting into 1,000 shards of agony. My body, a vessel of bone and muscle, was violently torn, twisted, and then a strange, sudden cessation. The searing pain that had consumed me, the crushing weight of the collision, didn't simply fade, it was lifted, as if a heavy cloak had been shed. A profound, almost dizzying sense of lightness enveloped me, a feeling utterly alien to anything I had ever known. It wasn't an out-of-body experience in the sense of seeing my own mangled form on the roadside, but rather a sensation of transcending the physical, of my consciousness detaching from the broken shell it once inhabited. I was no longer bound by gravity, by friction, by the brutal laws of the material world. I was simply aware, floating in an ethereal space that felt both boundless and intimately personal. Then it appeared. Not a tunnel, not a brilliant white light, but something far more vivid and specific. A blue portal. It wasn't merely a color, it was an entity of light, a shimmering, pulsating gateway that radiated an almost liquid sapphire hue. The blue was unlike any I had ever witnessed on Earth, deeper than the ocean's abyss, more vibrant than the clearest sky, yet imbued with an incredible softness that invited rather than overwhelmed. It beckoned with a silent, profound promise. As I drifted towards it, or perhaps through it, an indescribable sense of peace washed over me. It was a peace so absolute, so complete, that it instantly erased every trace of fear, every memory of pain, every earthly anxiety. It was the peace of coming home, a tranquility that permeated every fiber of my being, settling my spirit into a state of profound serenity. Within this luminous blue realm, the feeling of presence became palpable. It was a warmth, a knowing before any visual manifestation. And then he was there, my brother. He emerged from the blue, his form radiant, whole, and familiar, yet subtly transformed by the essence of this place. He wore clothes of the same impossibly beautiful blue as the portal, a color that seemed to hum with life and energy. The sight of him, so unexpected and yet so deeply longed for, filled me with an overwhelming surge of emotion, not grief, but pure, unadulterated joy and recognition. Our communication wasn't with words spoken aloud. It was a direct, instantaneous transfer of thought, a telepathic connection that bypassed the limitations of earthly language. His presence was comforting, but his message carried an undeniable urgency. He moved towards me, his gaze unwavering, and his thoughts flowed directly into my consciousness. Come back to your body, lie down, be strong because you have your daughters. The clarity of his instruction was absolute, the love behind it immense. In that moment, I understood. I had been unconsciously accepting death, drifting towards this magnificent peace, ready to surrender. But his words, his presence, and the powerful image of my daughters pulled me back, anchoring me to the life I had almost left behind. It was a profound realization. I was at a crossroads, and my brother was there to guide me back, not because I was unwelcome, but because my journey on earth was not yet complete.
As I absorbed his telepathic command, a new awareness began to filter in, not of my physical body, but of my immediate surroundings in this in-between state. I was conscious, fully alert, perhaps even more so than in my everyday life. I found myself in a space that felt like a threshold, a liminal zone. And then I perceived them. 10 figures, cloaked in pure, luminous white, standing silently around what I instinctively knew was my bed. They were not just vague shapes, they were distinct presences, radiating a calm, watchful energy. My brother, however, was not static. He moved with a quiet anxiety, pacing from one side of my head to the other, his blue form a vibrant contrast to the serene white figures. He was a sentinel, a guardian, his concern for my return palpable even in this ethereal realm. For what felt like 3 days, though time here was fluid, an illusion, these 10 white-clad beings remained, silent witnesses to my struggle, while my brother continued his anxious vigil, a loving presence urging me toward strength. This entire experience was a singular, profound revelation. There was no review of my past life, no grand vision of the future, no overwhelming sense of unity with the universe, nor a direct encounter with the divine being as described in religious texts. Instead, it was an intensely personal encounter, a direct confirmation of a spiritual reality I had only ever hoped for. The magnificent peace I felt in the blue portal, the undeniable presence of my brother, and his telepathic message were the core truths revealed to me.
It was an understanding that transcended intellectual comprehension, settling deep within my soul. Death was not an end, but a transition, and the other side was not a void, but a magnificent, serene reality. I was accepting death, ready to embrace the profound calm. But my brother, with his unwavering love and the reminder of my daughters, had given me a new purpose, a reason to fight my way back.
To be pulled back from that extraordinary peace, to feel the brutal grip of the physical world once more, was a shock that defied comprehension, a profound disappointment after glimpsing the magnificent other side. The transition from the serene, luminous blue of the portal realm back to earthly consciousness wasn't a gentle re-entry. It was an abrupt, jarring collision. One moment I was enveloped in the profound peace, witnessing my brother's anxious vigil, sensing the calm presence of the white-clad figures. The next, a violent, sickening sensation ripped me away from that ethereal space. It was like being violently yanked backward, or having an invisible, impossibly heavy cloak thrown over me. The lightness vanished, replaced by a crushing weight and a suffocating sense of density. Then came the pain. It wasn't the searing initial agony of the accident itself, but a deep, pervasive ache that resonated through every fiber of my being. My head throbbed with a dull, insistent rhythm. My lungs felt heavy and restricted, and a profound weakness permeated every muscle. It was a stark, brutal contrast to the limitless freedom I'd just experienced. I felt heavy, anchored, trapped. There was a desperate, almost primal urge to shake off this cumbersome reality, to return to the effortless buoyancy of the blue realm. My first coherent thoughts were a swirl of confusion and a profound sense of loss. Where was the peace? Where was my brother? Why was I here, in this suffocating, painful body? Disappointment, sharp and sudden, pierced through the haze. I had glimpsed something extraordinary, a reality far more profound and beautiful than anything I'd ever known, and now it was gone. The transition felt like a cruel trick, like being given a taste of paradise, only to be violently banished. I was in a coma for 16 long days. When I finally awoke, the world was a blur of tubes, sterile white walls, and the hushed murmurs of a hospital room. My body felt alien, unresponsive. I was disoriented, struggling to piece together what had happened. My physical state was dire. The head trauma left me confused, the lung injury made every breath an effort, and the lingering effects of the allergic reaction left me weak and nauseous. I was sweating profusely, a clammy, uncomfortable sensation that mirrored the internal disquiet. My mind was reeling, trying to reconcile the vivid, crystalline memory of the blue portal and my brother's message with the harsh, undeniable reality of my broken body. One of the most striking moments after awakening was my immediate urge to communicate what I had experienced. Despite my physical weakness and the disorientation, an urgent need propelled me. I asked for something to write with. What happened next was almost as surreal as the NDE itself. My hand moved, but the handwriting that emerged on the paper was not my own. It was different, unfamiliar, yet it scrawled a clear, heartfelt message, a plea to be reunited with my brother's children, my daughters, and my mother. It was as if another part of me, still connected to that other side, was dictating, ensuring that the most important connections were reaffirmed in the face of my new reality. The reactions of those around me were a mix of relief, confusion, and, at times, outright disbelief. My family was overjoyed that I had woken up, but their relief was tinged with worry about my mental state. When I eventually tried to articulate what I had seen, the blue portal, my brother, the telepathic message, I was often met with polite nods, concerned glances, or attempts to rationalize it as a hallucination brought on by the trauma and medication. Friends sometimes shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond to such a profound and unconventional account. There was no shared language for what I had experienced, no easy framework for them to slot it into. It felt isolating, like I carried a secret truth that few were prepared to acknowledge, let alone understand. Yet, despite the skepticism, I knew, with an unwavering certainty, that it was profoundly real.
The bitter echoes of loss no longer define me. I now walk through life with an unwavering certainty that the other side is not merely real, but magnificent. This understanding has transformed everything. Waking up from a 16-day coma was only the beginning of a far more profound awakening. The man who went out for a bike ride on June 5, 2022, ceased to exist. In his place was someone irrevocably altered, fundamentally shifted by an experience that defied all earthly logic. The life I live now is vibrant, intentional, and infused with a clarity I never imagined possible. My priorities have undergone a radical recalibration. Before, I was deeply involved in my daily routines, my work, and my passion for cycling, all while carrying the lingering grief for my brother. Now, those elements are still present, but their hierarchy has completely flipped. My daughters, always my world, are even more so now. They are the anchor, the reason I fought to return. The superficial worries, the petty anxieties that once consumed mental energy have simply fallen away. Material possessions, career ambitions, even the pursuit of physical achievement in cycling, while still enjoyed, no longer hold the same gravitational pull. I've realized that the true richness of life lies not in accumulation, but in connection, in presence, and in the simple act of living each moment fully. This transformation stems from a new worldview that is no longer theoretical, but experiential. My NDE didn't just affirm my prior beliefs, it solidified them into an unshakable knowing. My Catholic upbringing had given me a framework, and my brother's death had spurred a search for comfort. But the NDE provided indisputable evidence of life after death. I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that our consciousness persists, that there is an existence beyond the physical body. The other side isn't a nebulous concept or a distant heaven. It's a tangible, magnificent reality, filled with profound peace. I saw it. I felt it. I was part of it. My brother's presence, his undeniable reality in that blue realm, shattered any lingering doubt. This understanding has redefined my perspective on death itself. It's no longer something to be feared, but a natural transition, a return to a state of profound peace. My long-held belief that my brother was still by my side was not just comforting, it was a premonition of truth. I found him, real and present, guiding me. This insight has released the bitter feelings from his loss, replacing them with a sense of calm and a deep understanding that he is simply on a different plane, accessible through the fabric of existence. My philosophy is now simpler, purer. The most important thing is to have a good heart, to act with kindness and integrity, to truly live one day at a time. This isn't a cliché, it's a direct instruction from the deepest part of existence, an echo of the truth I felt in the blue light.
With this new understanding came a profound sense of purpose. While I haven't embarked on a new profession or founded an organization, my mission has become deeply personal: to share my story. I speak about my NDE whenever I feel comfortable, particularly with those who are open to hearing it. I've learned that not everyone can comprehend such an experience, and many dismiss it as hallucination or delusion. This misunderstanding can be isolating, and it's certainly been a challenge. People often look at me with concern, sometimes even pity, when I recount the blue portal or my brother's telepathic message. But the truth of my experience is so profound, so utterly real, that the skepticism of others cannot diminish its validity for me. I feel a quiet responsibility to bear witness, to offer a different perspective to a world often consumed by materialism and fear of the unknown. I connect deeply with others who have had similar experiences, like those I now read about in Evidence of Life After Death. Their descriptions resonate with my own, confirming that I am not alone, and that this phenomenon is far more widespread and real than society often acknowledges. My NDE was a critical moment for my family, especially my children. It was a near-fatal event that brought them to the brink of losing me. But through it, I gained something invaluable, an eternal reality. It anchored me, centered me in a way I never was before. I no longer just believe in an afterlife, I know it. This isn't an intellectual exercise, it's a living, breathing truth that informs every choice I make. So my message, my enduring takeaway from stepping through the blue portal and back is this. While we cannot wish for others to endure such trauma to gain understanding, we can aspire to evolve every day. We can live with an open heart, embracing the present moment, knowing that this earthly life, with all its joys and struggles, is just one chapter in an eternal journey. The other side is magnificent, but this side, lived with purpose and love, is where our lessons are learned and where we truly come alive. My experience wasn't just an event, it's a reality that I carry with me, a testament to the boundless mystery and undeniable beauty of existence.